You've heard of the Dixie Mafia, but have you ever heard of the Gypsy Camp murders? A takeover-style robbery that was executed on the North Shore of New Orleans that this favorite fishing spot of mine bears a connection to, because on February 18th, 1969, 4 Dixie Mafia members made their way across the Causeway Bridge in a convoy of stolen vehicles. That's the foot of the bridge right there, where they would have set out on that fateful, violent night to the Ski-Bow Trail Accord in Covington, where they committed a takeover-style robbery, herded 24 women and children into a room and chained them by the neck, you heard me? Once they were all restrained, they started interrogating this woman, Marjorie George, the gypsy queen of the caravan, but she was a tough old bird and refused to give up the combination to the safe that they were trying to get in, and one of the perpetrators swung an axe and cleaved her head wide open. As she lay convulsing on the ground in her death throes, another one of the robbers ran over and shot her between the eyes with a .45. After delivering the coup de grace, the perpetrators engaged in a mad dash to escape the dastardly deed they just committed, and left the scene of the crime in a series of stolen cars and boats, finally making their way back across Lake Pontchartrain like pirates, landing right here and hiding some of the loot in those bushes, only to be found the very next day by some curious kids that turned it into the cops. This course of action drew the attention of the robbery murder detectives who were investigating the robbery, and they promptly found the getaway boat with the plug missing, half submerged right here, a few feet offshore. I can only assume that after their feet touched dry land and they hid some of the loot, which turned out to be about $1,000 in coins in those weeds for those kids to find the next day, they made a mad dash for freedom to enjoy the spoils of their misdeeds. But they did not get away clean. There was plenty of evidence leading right back to them, and a man named Bobby Joe Gwynn was arrested just a few days after the $1,000 in silver chains was found in those weeds right there. Now, he struck some type of deal to tell on his friends. They arrested Bill Clubb. They were looking for Kersey Nix. He turned himself in Georgia in a bid to avoid trial. And Bobby Joe Gwynn was eventually let out in a sort of like witness protection program, but apparently he wasn't too protected, because a few months later, they found his body riddled with bullets on side the road. A few months after that, the man suspected of killing him was found himself in a river, Swiss cheesed up. I think it was safe to say he wasn't talking. Once all the witnesses were dead, they had to let Bill Clubb and Kersey Nix go. We're talking about a different breed of criminal right here that they don't make anymore. Outlaws as violent as the ones from the Wild West before them, living on the fringes of society in a gangster's paradise.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. Me be treated like a punk, you know that's unheard of. You better watch how you're talking and where you're walking, or you and your homies might be lying in chalk. I really hate the trip, but I gotta low. As they croak, I see myself in the pistol smoke. Fool.